So, today is the 1st of January 2017. So, I should probably start this video by saying Happy New Year! I had a really lovely New Year's Eve. I just stayed in with my dad, my brother, my aunt, and my uncle. We ate a lot of food. I mean, we had 13 dishes of like different things, like pizza and pasta and bread and stuff, which for 5 people is kind of excessive, but you know, it's better to have too much than too little. We never even got round to puddings, we were that full. And then we just played some games, watched some TV. It was really lovely. It was really fun. So 2017, start of a new year. So I thought in this video I'd just look back at some of the stuff that happened in 2016. I mean, 2016, a lot of people have said, has not been a fab year, to be fair. There's been a lot of deaths, a lot of really horrible stuff happening in the world. There's a lot of bad news. Well, some people might think some of it is good news, but a lot of people also think it's bad news. So to start off with, I think there's been a lot. I mean, I know there's been a lot of terror attacks all over the world, but I'm going to focus on Europe, Western Europe, because there's been a lot there, and obviously living in Britain, that's close to me. So it all kind of started in November 2015, actually, where there were some attacks in Paris that killed over 100 people. I remember that I was just watching football, and then my dad came in and he goes, "Beth, put the news on." I said, "Why do you want to watch the news? I'm just watching this." He goes, "No, put the news on. There have been shootings in Paris." And that really shocked me because nothing like that's really happened before. I mean, there have been some where a couple of people have died, but nothing of that kind of magnitude. In March, on the 22nd of March, there was an attack in Brussels, which I think killed 32 people. That scared me quite a lot because we'd been in Brussels this summer of 2015. So my last major holiday, we went to Brussels, and it scared me that it was at the airport. We'd been there and all that. I found that quite scary. And then on Bastille Day, which is July 14th, a lorry drove into a big crowd of people, killing 86 of them. 2 boys broke into a church, held a load of nuns hostage, and killed a priest. And then near to Christmas, a lorry was driven into a Berlin Christmas market, which was very similar to the Bastille Day attacks. I mean, touch wood, nothing's happened in Britain yet, nothing major, but it is quite scary knowing that these places are so close to you and that it could happen very easily. A lot of people have said, "Oh, I don't want to go to London, I don't want to go anywhere major," but I think although a lot of people have been killed and it is really horrific, you could quite easily just get killed by a car from stepping out of your front door. So I think it's scary. We need to pay our respects to people that have died, watch the news, all of those kind of things, but I don't think we should live our lives in fear because you could just as easily be killed by an allergic reaction, a car. And although these things are horrific, there's no need for us to live our lives in fear. If you want to go to London, go to London. If you want to go to Paris, go to Paris. I mean, I'm going to Paris in March. So moving on from that, here's some better news. There have been quite a lot done for LGBT rights this year. I know there have been quite a few over the last few years, but Italy allowed gay marriage, which was really awesome. So people are allowed to share the same surname and things like that. And I think they're the last kind of big Western European country to do that, which I think is really good. Colombia in South America allowed same-sex marriages in February. And another gay rights success is that in Northern Ireland, gay men are allowed to donate blood, which I think is really good. One thing that's not been quite so good for the LGBT community is in North Carolina, trans people have to use the bathroom, for example, in school or in public, that's the same sex as their birth. In what happened in June was a massive deal for the UK. So we had what was called the EU referendum, so we had to vote about whether we wanted to stay in or leave the European Union. So for me as a young person who looked into it, I thought my view was to stay. I know there are a lot of people who completely disagreed with me, so I voted Remain. Unfortunately, we decided to leave, which was a massive victory for the right wing. I wasn't happy about that. I mean, I think the European Union is a really good thing, and it strengthens bonds between European countries, and I feel like we've just kind of broken that now. So David Cameron, who was our Prime Minister and part of the Stay campaign, resigned. So we had a new Prime Minister, Theresa May. I have nothing against her. I don't really know what she's done as Prime Minister or what she's not done or anything. However, she wasn't actually voted in as Prime Minister. So I feel like we've got a Prime Minister that's kind of forced upon us rather than one that was voted in. Another thing that's happened this year is obviously the migrant crisis has been completely ongoing. I think the way that the West is treating migrants is horrific. I genuinely think that it is, because when you think about it, if the monstrosities, the horrific things were happening in the UK rather than Syria, I know that if I had a family, I'd want to get them out of there. I'd want to keep them safe. And we're just having them living in shanty towns, not allowing them to cross borders. I mean, I know that there's a lot of things about, space, housing shortages, but just the humane thing to do would be to treat them with some respect. I feel like it's horrible what we're doing. I mean, they're still humans. We need to respect them. So in October, they demolished what was called the jungle camp. I'm not sure whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, because it was obviously a horrific place, squalid. People weren't living in actual homes. So they demolished all of that and sent the migrants to decent accommodation across France. I am wondering, to be fair, how decent this decent accommodation is. And the reason they were in Calais was that they wanted to get to the UK, so I feel like the camp is just going to get built again. I mean, I really think we need to do something about the migrant crisis, because what is happening at the moment is completely inhumane. So another big shock for the politics of this year. I mean, I asked my dad, do you think that we're going to leave the EU? And he said, gosh, no way. People are scared of change. That's not going to happen. That happened. And then I said to Dad, do you think the US are going to vote in Donald Trump? Oh no, they're not. They won't do that. They did. So on November the 8th was the election in the USA. It was between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump is a businessman and just decided to run for president, whereas Hillary Clinton is a politician. But the image of Donald Trump, I'd never got. And he said some things. He started off by saying he was going to ban Muslims from the USA. And yes, I know that ISIS or the Islamic State, whatever you want to call them, claim to be Muslims. But I have plenty of Muslim friends. They're all lovely, and they all tell me that Islam is a religion of peace. I hate the way that they're clumping in all Muslims that are part of ISIS. I mean, I'm a Christian, but I'm not part of the Ku Klux Klan. ISIS is a really small proportion of Muslims, and to say I'm going to ban all Muslims from the US, that's not okay. That's really not okay. And then as the election got closer, he said it came out that he'd said some really offensive things about women. I mean, I found them offensive. I found them really offensive, some of the stuff that he'd said. But yeah, he is going to be the president on the 20th of January. Again, that was a shock, but I think it's just kind of showing that, and the voting out of the EU as well, is showing that people are not happy with the way the world's being run. They're not happy about it, and they want to do something about it. Obviously, there's still absolutely horrific things happening in Syria. I mean, it leaves me speechless. I can't believe that people can do those things. I mean, I know it's the government fighting rebels, fighting ISIS, and I don't even know who to support, because every single one of those sides are doing inhumane, horrific things that shouldn't be happening. And I think we often become quite removed from it because, oh, it's not here, it's, you know, halfway across the world. But wherever you are, there's still people. There's still children being murdered, children being left without parents. You know, it really is horrific. Another thing that's happened in 2016 is that a lot of famous people, you know, athletes, actors, singers, entertainers have died. I'm only going to touch on a few of them here because there have really been a lot. So the first major one that I remember is when David Bowie died. That was, you know, because he was such a good musician for so long. Not long after that, Prince died. Prince, the singer, musician. Terry Wogan died, who's a TV presenter. He's Irish, but he presented a lot of BBC in the UK. He always presented a charity thing called Children in Need. So, you know, he was very well known. Muhammad Ali died, who was a famous boxer. Gene Wilder, who played Willy Wonka in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And over the last few days, Carrie Fisher died. I don't watch Star Wars, but my dad and my brother really like Star Wars, and she played Princess Leia, I think, in Star Wars. And George Michael, who was part of Wham and also a pretty big gay icon, also died. And there are deaths every single day. They touch families, but these ones I think touched a lot of people because they were such well-known people. And there were a lot more than that of people that died this year. Victoria Wood, you know, Mitch Fenner, there were lots. And I think it just showed us how valuable life is and how fragile life is as well. Because some of these people were quite old, but a lot of them weren't. A lot of them were pretty young, to be fair. I think we just have to appreciate our life and don't say, oh, I might do that in a few years. You know, if you want to do it now. Do it now. So that's my review of 2016. I'm sorry that it's been a little bit depressing. I'll try and do more positive videos from now on.